Good afternoon to all these spectacular ladies and gentlemen. I must say ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Alok mentioned. I'm extremely grateful and feel very privileged to be here today amongst you all. And I'm extremely grateful to Dr. Alok Pandit and Dr. Bhatia for this wonderful opportunity. This is a platform where I always love to come back. I have been coming here since a very long time every year. And one of the reasons is that this is a place where I feel connected just like a family. And every time, we meet such women of substance that I myself feel very enriched. We all learn from here and imbibe the values and go back and radiate and manifest these values and learnings in our respective fields, as most of us here are professionals. To actually suppress and overlook the talent and potential of half the population on this globe is simply a ludicrous idea. It is actually, in fact, a great reservoir of talent and human resources. It comes to this that when a woman chooses that her profession should be that of a homemaker, there are two ways to look at it. One is that she is forced into repetitive, redundant drudgery and works day to day mechanically like a robot. And the other path is when she is able to use her creative freedom and her judgment and ingenuity to carve the professional pathways for her children, for her family, for her husband, and be the foundation and the anchor for the microeconomic unit of the society. It is then that she is the strongest component of the fabric of the society, and she should not need to go out for the numbers of getting financial freedom. That point, when this happens and that value is acknowledged, that is the time when we would feel that society has really come a long way and evolved to the next level. Reaching that point where we have achieved actual gender equity is never a point. It is always evolution, because it is so that if you really look, if you dig deep into it, then when women are not getting their due, then it is the men who actually suffer the most, because men are the husbands, men are some of the sons and brothers, that there is an imbalance which gives a kind of an extended tension and psychological stress to the other gender also. I speak here today on behalf of sportswomen. We have so many women who have now come forth in fields that were originally male domains, purely male domains. But today we see women in paramilitary forces, in police, in the defense forces, and politics, medical, space scientists, mountaineers, pilots, you name it. There are hundreds of women there. And so are they there in athletics and sports. I started my career as a bodybuilder, one of the first in India, and at that time there were hardly any women out here. A lot of you know about it because I see so many faces coming back, that I actually, had no guidance here, and I traveled all the way to train with the last word in the world, the Olympians. And I learned so much. I got the kind of exposure I got was phenomenal. I was the only one out there, but then I felt that I can give back so much by virtue of my experience and exposure. Even to this date, when we see hundreds of women on stage, there are a lot of gaps in their perception of the sport and the knowledge and the wisdom on how to go about things, that really a lot needs to be done. And I, for myself, try to do it by being a living example and adding to the collective consciousness, doing my little bit as much as possible to the best of my capacity. After I retired as a bodybuilder, I won my pro card when I was 48 years old. And while raising an autistic son, my son is now in his 36th year. So it was the women, I felt, did not have a role in the decision making and the strategic level management. Now, I wanted to continue to stay in this field, and I went on to become the first international woman bodybuilding judge in the IFBB Pro League. IFBB is the International Federation of Bodybuilding. Now, while I'm very grateful to the promoters who gave me this privilege and honor to be there and to judge these glorious bodybuilders, there were always that group of men who would say, why would this woman sit there and judge this 300, 400-pound bodybuilder? She's not even that. But that is where common sense needs to prevail, and that is exactly the point where we need the change. When I sit there at the judging panel, I am not looking at the bodybuilder. I'm not going to do a 300-pound deadlift or a squat. What I'm going to do is to observe and perceive and understand the muscular development, the balance, the symmetry, the conditioning, the aesthetics, the streamlining in the body, and to be able to compare them with the other contenders and come to a conclusion. That is more of an intellectual activity. That is more of an art. And I had done it all the way before retirement by being the only woman. Then why not? But this, some of my well-wishers told me that no matter how much ridicule you face, what you need to do is just hang on there, just be there, and let us strive at this point to just normalize the presence of senior women in sports. Senior leadership, senior managers. I went on to join the Paralympic Committee of India, where there were physically challenged athletes. And I cannot even start how much bias there is sometimes towards the women athletes. Women athletes, when you're competing at the world level, recently we went for the Asian Games at Hangzhou in October 2023. We won 111 medals. That was a record. We had so many women on wheelchair lifting 3 times their body weight, running great feats, even with one leg. We had Sheetal, who without arms, she won gold medals with using the bow and arrow with her toes. And on the China newspaper front page, we had the toe and arrow photograph of hers. So we have all these people. But the problem is that while they are in the midst of their athletic career, they are so engrossed in the development that they do not envision that their shelf life, their athletic shelf life is limited because they are competing at that elite, supreme level where you're actually competing with the champion of every country. It requires an immense amount of focus. We know very frequently we see injuries, wear and tear, chronic fatigue, depression, because of the depletion of serotonin and all the biochemicals. But that needs to be addressed. And I feel a lot of parents don't allow their children to go into sports because they feel that once they retire, and that would be maybe around 30 or at the most early 30s, that once they retire, they would get married and then get lost in the wilderness. We have a few women in leadership roles. We have P.T. Usha, our president, the president of Paralympic Committee of India, is a wonderful woman. She won the Rio Olympics bronze. But the thing is that such women are very few, and sports is not taken as a career. So I would like to also quote my experience with the All India Football Federation, where I stand as a safeguarding officer. And this is a new role, and this has been made mandatory by FIFA. In fact, again there, I'm the first and the only safeguarding officer all by myself there. Let me tell you, there are, in the under 16 and under 19 teams, we have girls from rural areas who are not even aware of their rights. And one of the reasons why we have girls from rural areas is that these sports require an immense amount of physical endurance and resilience. But the problem, again, is that as a safeguarding officer, this post was not existing. But I realized, as I studied and I did my qualifications through these years, I realized that And also while doing the workshop. Recently they went for the SAF championship, and now on 28th February, we again have the under 16 championship in Bangladesh, in Nepal. So what happens is that these girls are not aware about menstruation. They are not even aware that if they have fatigue, they can excuse themselves from practice. They are scared that if they have an injury and they report, they will not be selected. They are so naive. They are so simple. They need that strength, that pillar around them, and the presence of women in an organization in itself, as we all know, brings about balance and sensitivity in the environment. And sometimes these very men who are able to accept and have this concept of women leaders is normalized, and there is greater presence of women and in leadership roles. The men would again go back and respect the women in their family. It is also, I just remember this, it's so endearing now that where I was the only one, now we have so many women bodybuilders when their husbands, their brothers, their parents bring them to compete and cheer for them. That change has come about, and it has taken at least 2 decades through which at least I have seen this sport. Then I would like to also bring, use this platform to talk about Special Olympics. Our BJP leader, JP Nadda, his wife is Malika Nadda, who has so graciously brought Special Olympics in our country. Physically challenged people can think for themselves. They have a lot of provisions and they deserve it, because no amount of privileges can compensate for a lost arm or a leg. We all know that. But they can think for themselves. If somebody is bothering them, exploiting them, they are consciously aware of it. But what happens to the intellectually challenged child? I speak here as the mother of an autistic child. It is not just, I might have said it about 10 times, but for me, in the last 36 years, every single day has been a challenge to battle it. And so for me, Special Olympics Bharat comes as such a reprieve that, and recently I went for a Special Olympics championship in DPS Rohini, from where my son passed out in 2006. At that time, if he would do something clumsy, there were complaints, there was a lot of nagging. But today we had a child who came for a medal on stage, sat down on the middle of the stage cross-legged, and everybody welcomed him with open arms. On the victory dais, we saw parents coming up and fondly taking pictures of their children. This change is so beautiful that it gives me a lot of joy. It is in the last 10 years that we have seen that the neurodiverse spectrum and inclusivity is accepted like never before. So I would like to urge all of you that we must, whenever we get an opportunity, we must encourage sportsperson, and in whatever role we have so many people in the leadership role, and we have people in the government also, that whenever there is an opportunity to promote sports in women, I think we must also ensure that these women will not just play and then go their ways. In case of my own self, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I launched my own supplement brand. My cause behind that supplement brand was to prolong the athletic shelf life and to recover stronger, because that is a cause which has not been addressed in sports even across the globe. In the COVID period, we had, this, the pine bark extract is one ingredient which comes from France and Australia, and it is so exotic that everybody does not have access to it. So in the COVID period, we did research on Indian pine bark, and we did the human trials and patented it. It is proven to improve athletic endurance and has high amount of polyphenols and anthocyanins that improve the brain development, derived neurotropic factor. So we want to work in sports to bring about a paradigm change, and I would end with one incident that happened recently. when I planned to do my second master's in public health from Yale University, and as I was filling the form, there was a column for the profession of parents at the Yale University. And I don't have parents, but I just was curious to see what all has been listed. The first profession there was athlete and sportsperson. So I wish that we see more women taking up leadership role, and that sports as a profession is respected. And in the developmental years, we are taking care of teaching the sports persons management, organizational work, the dynamics of the federation, the technicalities, and encourage women to become coaches of the senior national team. I hope that I have been able to add a little to the collective consciousness, and I hope that we'll see, I'll give a different speech a few years from now on this very platform. Thank you, Dr. Alok Pandit, for this opportunity. Thank you.